Have you ever found yourself scrolling on your phone and you see yet another one of your mom friends just exclaiming about how she has found the answer to her financial problems in her family, that she has started a business, she has found success, and she is so excited about it? Right? It seems like everywhere we turn, there are moms everywhere monetizing their passions and being able to bring in an income for their family, all while staying at home. And whether those posts make you roll your eyes or maybe light a fire within you, create this hunger in you that think, well, hold on a second, I can do that. In fact, I want to do that. That's exactly why I'm sure you clicked on this episode title and you're diving in here with me today. And I have great news. Today, I am going to help you figure out how to turn your God-given passion into a profitable venture, and not just one that you have to leave God out, but put him directly in the center so that you can blend your spiritual focus with practical business advice and turn this passion into a profit. Today, we're going to focus on a few simple things. We're going to help you identify your passions, understand the business, understand the marketing aspect of how to validate your passion as a business idea, and ultimately utilizing faith-based, biblical-based principles to create meaningful and sustainable income streams for you and your family. So buckle up, mama. This is probably the episode you've been waiting on for a very long time. Let's go for it. Let's dive in together and figure out how you can open the floodgates of financial blessing for you and your family.
The Energized Mama podcast, a place where we explore together how to raise those littles to know the Lord while growing in your own intimacy with Jesus, learning how to keep your energy while handling the inevitable stress, and rediscovering yourself outside of motherhood. It is possible. Let's do it together.
Mommy. Mama. Energized Mama. Yeah. You might do.
So if you've been listening to my podcast for a while, you may be wondering, like, Cheyenne, what's up with this episode? Like, why are you going here? So this is something that's actually been stirring on my heart for a very long time. There was actually a season about 6 months ago where I was like, man, Lord, and should I? Yes, I do, by the way, go to the Lord about this podcast. And I was like, should I start offering more mompreneur type episodes? Because everywhere I look, everywhere I turn, there are so many moms that either are trying to make their own business and make it work and just kind of don't really know where to start, or there's moms who want it, who have this desire, or they're just struggling. They're staying at home and, either they are struggling financially and their husband isn't able to fully support their family and they want to help support their husband. Heck, I have some friends, this is one of my, big goals is to retire my husband, allow your husband to not have to work, not feel like he has to provide for the family, or possibly there's just these stirrings in your heart and your soul to do more than just stay at home with your kids, and wherever you feel that leading, whether you feel completely comfortable staying at home and nurturing your children, and chances are that you're listening to this podcast because you feel like that's not enough. And it's not that your children are not enough, but your children were never meant to fulfill you, right? Only God was meant to fulfill you. And if he's put passions inside your heart, and I guarantee he has, because he has so much for each of us, and sometimes as moms we become very overwhelmed and we are exhausted, that those still small voices that talk to us about what we're passionate about and what we love to do can really get just completely deafened out by the daily, responsibilities of our family and the crazy activity of our kids. Well, I'm here to help you listen to those passions again and find out how easy it actually can be to turn them into a profit, to help your family in so many more ways than just financial, but also help fulfill your soul in a way that we can only feel when we're using our gifts and our talents for the kingdom of God. Now, I'm speaking to you from a very real place. So For those of you that don't know, I have been kind of a serial entrepreneur since I left college. I graduated college in 2010, and ever since then, I moved to Los Angeles after working for Disney World for a year, and I just continually created different streams of income for myself in a lot of different ways and platforms. I owned my own dog walking company. At one point, I had a sub company where I was a dog runner. I also had my own nannying company. I was a personal trainer, a group fitness instructor. I did life coaching on the side. I even at one point was involved in several different product-based businesses, whether it was selling makeup or vitamins and supplements. So I've done a whole lot, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot in those experiences. And so recently I had created a small mompreneur Voxer group because I realized I had so many friends in my circle, so many friends that were stay-at-home moms that said, you know what, we're at home, we're with our kids, we love it, but yet we still feel somewhat just unfulfilled in some areas. And when we would get in these deep conversations and when I would aim to help them get to the bottom of it, is that they just felt that they were using this untapped potential within them, these skill sets that they had developed before becoming a mom and then after becoming a mom, and they wanted to start a business but had no idea where to start. And so I started this Voxer group for these handful of mompreneurs. It started with 4 of us. Now there's, I believe, 7 of us in this group. And every day, every week, we're helping keep each other accountable. We're asking questions. We're getting answers to how to establish and how to grow a business. But one thing I realize is that it all boils down to, and it all starts with the question of, how do I monetize the things that God gave me a passion for, right? Well, before we can answer the actual how to monetize it, we got to take a step back, right? We first want to make sure that we are clear on what are your God-given passions. We want to identify them, right? And that may seem like a really weird question, you know, but it's just like on a business or a resume, right? When a business would, you know, when you're applying for a job and they would ask you, what are your strengths? Anyone else out there start, you know, kind of twiddling their thumbs and are kind of like, how do I quantify this? How do I put this together? Your strengths are there. Sometimes it's just hard to define them. It's hard to put words to them. And that's the same thing as your passions. So it is important to recognize what you're passionate about and how then these gifts are meant to serve God and glorify Him. Now, and some ways that you can actually identify these passions within you. You can, you know, first and foremost reflect on what activities in your life bring you joy and fulfillment. And they can be something as simple as, you know, this is one thing I want to emphasize to you is when you would start to do an assessment of this, what your passions are, is look at it more as a brain dump. You know, grab out your phone, open the notes section, or grab a notebook and take out a pen and just answer that question again. What are the activities that bring you joy and fulfillment? Don't start thinking about, oh, but how could I monetize that? Or how is that going to be anything people pay for? No. God will bring that sustenance and work on that part with you. First and foremost, the things that you can't fabricate are the things that you're passionate about. There's a reason why these activities bring you joy and fulfillment. So list those activities. And then also think about it. You can, again, create just a list of these different questions that I'm going to pose out to you. The second thing could be, consider what friends and family consistently praise you for, right? Like, what is something that people just love about you, right? One reason why I decided to start a podcast, and this isn't about tooting my own horn, it's just giving you a little bit of a deeper knowledge behind who I am as Cheyenne, as the Energized Mama, but also why I decided to start a podcast is I have continually had people praise me in my life for my gift of encouraging people. And I thought, well, what a better way that I can encourage people than putting my voice on a mic and speaking to the heart and soul of women, of moms everywhere in a way that I can control and that I can speak to the masses through a podcast. So that's one way that I was able to really tune in and listen to what people praise me for, but also I'm pretty darn passionate about encouragement. And I hope that whether this is your first episode of the Energized Mama or your 100th, because as of the recording, this is actually my 112th episode of the Energized Mama. So surreal. I hope that you have felt encouraged and that this podcast does bring you joy as well, because it certainly brings me fulfillment. And one of the last things, it may seem like an obvious, but it's something that we can so quickly overlook, is just prayer. Prayer and meditation for God to speak to you, for Him to give you guidance. You know, one thing that always classically works for me is movement. I get such clarity when I move. So whether if it's going for a walk or for a hike or spending time, just walking, swimming, in the ocean. I know it's a little bit easier for me to do here in Florida. But if it's going to the gym, putting my headphones on with some worship, just getting still, which is funny because I just said movement, but you can have movement in your body, but be still in your mind. Ooh, I feel like that was like for me right there. By the way, I did not have that note written down when I was recording this episode. So again, let me repeat that. You can have movement in your body, but have stillness in your mind. And how often is that also true with sometimes we can have stillness in our body, but movement in our mind? I think we need a little bit of both. So when you stop and surrender and seek to identify your God-given passions, that's the first step to figuring out how could you monetize them. Now you've got your passion, right? You've got these things, they're clear, they're written down on a piece of paper, if you've jotted them down in your notes. Now it's time to validate your passion as a genuine business idea, right? So you want to take that step of exploring how to validate it, whether your passion can actually solve a problem or ultimately fulfill a need for a larger audience than just yourself, right? And so some ways you can do this are doing some market research. So maybe some of you recently helped me with this, but I recently did some market research because I narrowed my scope of the women that I wanted to specifically talk to. That's part of the joy and the journey of being an entrepreneur as well, especially a Christian entrepreneur, is really following the Holy Spirit where He's leading you. And I'll be totally transparent. There's been times where I haven't, and those are usually the times that I end up tripping myself up or going in a different direction than the Lord wanted me to, but He's always so faithful. And with this podcast, there was a time where I only wanted to speak just to moms of littles. And then I really felt the Lord say, speak to my daughters, speak to women who seek me and want to raise their children to seek me and love other people like I love them. So that's why I started, using biblical principles. I started speaking about Jesus on this podcast. And in order for me to do that and to really know what women like you, Jesus-loving mamas, want to hear, what they want to know, how they want to grow, I had to ask the questions, right? So you can create your own, say, online survey or a questionnaire. Something that's worked really convenient for me nowadays has been exchanging voice messages back and forth with people. Moms were busy, we're on the go, and it's just easier sometimes to just shoot out some questions, right? And then receive them back. You can also, create some kind of like a mini program, like say like a pilot program, whether it's you wanted to create a membership or a course or something like that, which I'm giving you a little bit of a preview of what's coming up in a few minutes on the podcast. But you could have like a small scale or small group to beta test your idea, even if it's creating, some great business advice I would give is before you would create a course or before you would create an actual offer or product would be to test it with something smaller. And it would be testing the waters, testing whether or not it's a good idea. Again, choosing that, you've probably heard the N word, the niche, right? Choosing the exact group of people that you want to serve and then going to them and figuring out what their biggest pain points are, what their biggest struggles are, what challenges do they have, and then figuring out where does that passion align? Like, where does that passion, right? How can it solve that problem or fulfill that need that specific niche that you want to serve, that you feel called to serve? How does that help them? And that's something I actually would like to add like a little caveat, you know, with my first tip or our first step going into this episode was about identifying your God-given passion. I would also say identify your God-given niche, right? Because you may have a passion that you're lasered in and you feel clarity and you're like, yep, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. But the next step there is then the who, answering the who. Like you may have the what, but the who is arguably just as important because you don't want to try to help everyone. That's going to be the fastest way to realizing you're not going to help hardly anyone. You really want to zone in on who has God helped you to, or called you to help in this season of your life. And I emphasize season because, you know, take me a step back 5 years ago, I could have tried to have spoken to a group of you like moms. I had experience. I had been a nanny for 10 years. There was a lot I wanted to offer moms, but it wouldn't have been the right time because I wasn't a mom myself yet. So now 5 years down the road, I am so much more equipped and I have such a better connection with my niche because I now am also a mom of littles and I'm actually a full-time motherly figure for my teenage bonus daughter. So I went from having 0 kids to 3 kids and woo, has it been a journey ever since. So ultimately, if you can decide then also on not only what is your passion, but also what is your God-given niche or group of people, and then validate your idea, your passion with that group of people. So you can also go about doing that by getting feedback from community groups. You know, again, I'm always going to go back to my example, you know, whether it's I've, you know, joined a MOPS, which it's actually now called the Mom Co. MOPS used to be Mothers of Preschoolers. Now it's the Mom Community, the Mom Co. And I'm surrounded by women that I want to serve and I want to help and I want to impact. And so that was a community group. Even say if there's small groups at your church or if you want to help impact businesses, there's all kinds of networking groups that you can get involved in. And also on social media. You know, I know it gets a lot of flack, but it is a great way to connect with people, especially with busy schedules on your own time. And that would be one of the biggest pieces of advice I could give you for validating your passion as a true business idea, right? Because the goal here is to monetize your idea, right? If you feel called to just, you know, do something and speak it out and keep your passion a passion, that's great. But if you clicked on this episode, I guarantee you want to monetize it, and there is no shame in that. So again, use these strategies that I just talked about to make sure that your passion is not just a passion, that it can also be a business idea. And now we're going to dive into monetization strategies. How we doing? I am so proud of you for still being here. You know, I know that it is all the feels when it comes to starting your own business as a mom, you know, especially if these are your first couple steps trying to figure out like what to do, when to do, who to do it to. So I just want to applaud you, and I'm giving you a huge hug through the phone, just saying that I validate you as well. Like, it's one thing to validate a passion and idea, but we also need to be validated, right? Because there are just times where it is just tough. And we have, as women, God has given us this amazing ability to experience all of the things, you know, all of the emotions. And I feel women also often get a lot of flack for that, but we serve the world in such a beautiful way because of those emotions. And those emotions can very often get the best of us, though, especially when it comes to stepping out and wanting to do something outside of our family and our children. And so I just applaud you for tuning in today. So here we go, diving into monetization strategies. Okay, so we already, you know, now we're clear on what is your passion. Now you've validated it as a business idea. So the next step is, it's time to monetize it, baby. It's time to choose, how do you want to monetize this amazing business idea you have, right? So there's a few options, and this is also going to be something that you want to make sure you go back to my first tips that I encouraged you on. Is this is going to be something that you also want to pray on, okay? That you want to really seek divine guidance on, and also something to go back to those people that you did market research with, and make sure that they also see your monetization as an opportunity for what they want, right? Because you don't want to create an ebook if they don't take time to read, right? That kind of thing. So let's go through some ideas. First and foremost, you can create either digital or physical products, right? Maybe you are passionate about making people laugh through the gift of your wit, and you are the mom that always has the funny sayings, and you want to start putting them on t-shirts, right? So you could create your own Etsy store, create your own physical product, and start selling them that way. Or maybe you are a woman who has a lot of passion for cooking, and you are the mom that everyone always comes to for healthy recipes, and you want to create a digital cookbook or meal plans, things like that, right? You can also offer online courses or workshops, what's amazing is so many of the God-given passions that are on your heart can ultimately become multiple streams of income, because you can create something digital and physical. You can have an online course and a workshop. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Now, you also can offer, say, freelancing or consulting in your area of expertise. You can write and sell ebooks or even start a blog. So there's all these options of what you can do. And what's really exciting and fun once you get going down your entrepreneurial path is that you can create multiple streams of income, so that one, you have all these different platforms and ways for God's abundant blessing to come into your heart and your life, ultimately your bank account, but also you're going to meet your audience where they're at. You are going to be able to speak to them directly with where they are on their journey. If you have Googled anything about being an entrepreneur at any time, you've probably heard the word funnel, right? And that's something, again, that may feel very overwhelming at first, but I promise you it's not as hard as it sounds. And it's all about putting what you offer into a proper funnel so that, again, you meet your audience where they're at, and then you start helping add value, and you help solve their little problems, and then their problems are a little bit bigger, to ultimately you give them a total transformation. So it's really important that when you do decide what monetization strategies you want to try, that you align them with your Christian values, right? And that you ensure that they contribute positively to your community and those around you. And because it can get so easy to get caught up in comparison and, analysis paralysis as well, right? We can really start to get overwhelmed and think, how the heck do we choose what to do? How do we know what the right option is and what to do? And so one thing that has continually helped me overcome this challenge and to stay motivated is, honestly, community. It is community. I cannot tell you how valuable having not just a mom community around me that helps encourage me in the ways that I want to raise and nurture my children, but also fellow mompreneurs that encourage me and motivate me and nurture my heart and soul as a mompreneur, because there really is a different almost language that you use once you step out and you become an entrepreneur. And there's that phrase that it gets lonely at the top, as you step out. Especially with your God-given passion, you're going to have attacks. The enemy does not want you to succeed. But what's even greater news is that God says you already have succeeded, right? Like, if he is for you, who can be against you? And so I find it's very important to make sure that you surround yourself with healthy mentors and with other women that are pursuing this same heart and their same focus, and just have this same philosophy in their heart, right? So, because there's going to be times where it's going to be hard when you step out and you start to make these choices, and you're going to face, a lot of fears. You're going to face fear of failure. You're going to face a lot of overwhelm. You may have time management struggles. Of course, then there's always that balancing game of work-life balance, balancing motherhood and business. And maybe that's why you haven't done this before. But maybe it's also because you've just never had a great community surrounding you. So once you've accomplished and done these steps before that I've encouraged you to do in this podcast. Once you've decided, okay, this is my God-given passion, this is my God-given people group, my God-given people that I want to impact, that I feel him leading me towards, this, my passion, this one right here that I've written down is a valid business idea because I've tested it. This is how I want to monetize it, and I know I want to because it resonates with me and my audience. Now you're ready. You're ready. You're ready to dive in with not just starting your business, but also surrounding yourself with other women who can share biblical principles and scriptures that are going to inspire you, that are going to help you persevere, that are going to give you courage, just an opportunity to surround yourself with other women that will help you do what you need to do. There's so much great community support and networking when you surround yourself with Christian entrepreneurs so that you don't feel like, I have to do this all alone, or how am I going to, get more leads, or how am I going to, get my message out there, and I don't know what an email list is, and how do you start a podcast, and, how do I get my stuff online? I don't even know how to create a website. All those things are so much easier done in community when you surround yourself with other Christian mompreneurs. How do I know? Because I've done it, and I actually have created a community for that. So if you are just jumping out of your seat right now and saying, yes, oh my gosh, I need that, I want that, that is who I want to surround myself with, got some great news, girl. All you got to do is just, when you're done with this episode, go right into the show notes, and I've already provided a link for you. Right now, my Facebook group is free. It may not always stay that way when we get to a certain amount of numbers, but I want you to go in right now and join while it's still available, while it's still free, while you still have the opportunity to come and surround yourself with other like-minded mamas who know that they're made for something more, who know that, you know what, God has given me this gift of being a mom and being a wife, but I know I have so much more to give. That is where you're going to find your safe space and surround yourself with other women. And the door is open. The door is open. It's just like in the Word of God where Jesus says that we all have a portion, we all have a part to play in the body, right? Some of our head, some are the arms, some are the legs. Let's go find you, your legs and your arms, your heart, your mouth, your eyes in a group of other believers who are going to help push you and encourage you and lead you on that path towards where you want to be, and not just your Christian walk, but your walk as an entrepreneur. I'm so very proud of you. I am so pumped to further connecting with you. I cannot wait for us to get to know each other even better in the Facebook community. Go ahead and hit that link. Share this episode with another mom who's just been dying to know, how the heck are women doing it? How can I also monetize my passions? How can I do this? Send this to them, and I hope that you hit that subscribe button because I don't want this to be the end. I look forward to continuing to move forward in encouraging you, to partnering with you, and being there for you in this journey. Thank you for partnering with me. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Energized Mama podcast. I so look forward to connecting with you on the next one. See you there, Mama. Here's a big hug until then.